It's the warning, isn't it?
Good evening. Welcome to this ordinary meeting of Council held on Tuesday the 20th of April 2021. I declare the meeting open. Council meeting information. Members of the public gallery should note that the Council records and publishes Council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of Council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on Council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the Council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the Council meeting but who wish to communicate with the Council via the online web form should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please could gallery visitors and councillors ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Next we have the Acknowledgement of Country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai-Kurnai people, and pay respect to their elders, past and present. The prayer. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Next we have apologies. I don't think there are any apologies, no. And now, councillors, before we proceed any further, I propose to just make a short comment about our late councillor, Malcolm Hull. Malcolm serves as a councillor from 2000 to 2021 and was elected for 7 consecutive terms. He was elected Deputy Mayor in 2019 and before that was Mayor in 2002 and 2006. Malcolm had a great interest in the timber industry and was on the Timber Towns Victoria Executive between 2001 and 2014. He was President between 2003 and 2013. He was also President of the National Timber Council between 2004 and 2014. Malcolm was on the Executive of Rural Councillors Victoria between 2005 and 2014. Malcolm represented Gippsland on the board of the Municipal Association of Victoria between 2015 and 2021. Amongst the letters that I had sent to me, and one I read yesterday at Malcolm's funeral, there was one from the Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Sean Lean, who said, very truly, Councillor Hull's dedication to his local community ensured that their voices were heard. And I agree completely with the Minister. Malcolm was a wonderful representative of his community. He was extremely proud of the community of Heyfield and represented in an exemplary fashion. He will be missed by all his council colleagues and the staff of Wellington Shire, in fact by the whole local government community. Our deepest condolences go to his family. I think that his 5 children and 15 grandchildren were his proudest achievement. So on behalf of Council and by the leave of the Council, I would like to record a note of appreciation for the work of Councillor Malcolm Gerard Hull as a councillor and pass on our deepest sympathy to his family. Malcolm, may you rest in peace. Now, could I ask everyone to join me in a minute's silence as a mark of respect for Malcolm? If you could all please stand. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'd just like to conclude by saying it was very pleasing to see so many councillors from other councils come along and travel great distances to be present at Malcolm's funeral. I think that showed a real genuine sign of the regard he was held in the wider local government community. And also it was really pleasing to see two of our local state members, Tim Bull and Melina Bath, also in attendance. I think that showed the wider regard in the state government community, especially, and also the letter that I received from the Minister. So thank you very much, councillors.
Mayor, given the longest time spent on council with Malcolm, I was hoping to say a few words.
Thank you.
Having spent 12 of the last, his 20 years on council, I've been here for only 12 and a half of them. But what I admired most about Malcolm was the breadth of his advocacy for his community, extending from his Saturday morning bakery chats in Heyfield through to the statewide MAV role that we just heard all about. And there was so much in between. While he was a great advocate for issues in and around Heyfield, he also recognised the greater good that came from supporting projects in other places in the Shire and indeed over the state. Not a lot of people can zoom in and out like Malcolm could. He became involved and chaired groups like Timber Towns, as you've mentioned, to achieve things, not just to fill a role. Whenever he met anyone who was in a position to make a difference to our Shire, the broader rural community or indeed the timber industry, he would happily chew their ear and stay on topic until he achieved a result. While Malcolm was not Rocky Balboa, his fighting spirit in supporting small communities who were getting on with things was exceptional. Communities simply looking for a handout were not always on his radar, but if they were on their way and needing a hand, he was all ears, and he was in there with the boxing gloves on to step into the room with them. When asked to assist, Malcolm was generous with his time and his commitment. But he also knew that being collegiate was such an important part of a successful council. Many councils we've seen fail due primarily to disharmony between the councillors. And Malcolm never let an argument around the table get in the way of a chat later on where relationships could be maintained, even when opinions expressed in the chamber were vastly different. A generous, funny, hard-working and considerate colleague who I know will be greatly missed. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. We'll now move on to the declaration of conflicts of interest. I don't believe there are any this evening. No. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 3.1, the confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting.
Thanks, Mayor. I move the Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary Council meeting of 6th of April 2021.
And seconded by Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to the adoption of the minutes? No, I'll declare them carried, and thank you, Councillor. Business arising from previous minutes, there's not any that I'm aware of. Acceptance of late and urgent items. I don't believe there are any urgent and late items. Number 6 is notices of motion. We haven't any notices of motion this evening. Item 7, receiving of petitions or joint letters. There are no current petitions or joint letters. Item 8. Invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. I don't believe we have any things this evening. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Item 9, questions on notice. There are no current questions on notice. Item 10.1, Mayor and Councillors' report. Councillor Wood.
Yes, I move that the Mayor and Councillors' report be noted.
Thank you. I'll second it, Councillor Marr. Thank you. Is there any opposition to that motion? No. I'll declare it carried. Councillor Wood.
Thank you. There are a number of issues, a number of presentations during the month of March, and there was a lot of community pop-up sessions that councillors attended. There was the opening of the Banbuck Cables in Rosedale. That's a big boost to that town. And also the funeral service of Lyndon Webb that I know a number of people attended. We had the East Sale Air Force reception, and once again a number of pop-up sessions. We had a youth council meeting and a number of launches, and one of the ones that was an important one was the RAF Squadron Colour Consecration Parade in Sale, and that Councillor Rossetti attended. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. The next item on the agenda is item 11, the report of delegates. I don't believe there's any current delegates reports. No. Thank you. Item 12.1 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Chief Executive Officer report be received.
Thank you. I'm seconded by Councillor Marr. Is there any opposition to the adoption of the Chief Executive Officer's report? No. I'll declare it carried. Councillor Crosley.
Yes, it's just this is a record of the CEO's meetings with various organisations and key stakeholders that we have to deal with. I think the one that I thought was interesting was the meeting with Mr. Grant Radford for the Chief Executive Officer of the TAFE Gippsland, alongside yourself, Mayor.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important one, and very important one to the community, and I'm sure that was part of the discussions with the MOU that was passed last council meeting. So I think that's a key event, and also the meeting with representatives of Regional Development Victoria to discuss the rollout of the Gippsland Regional Plan, which, like it says, it's actually the regional plan is made up of being compiled with consultation with all 6 Gippsland shires and major Gippsland businesses, and so it's very important to have these at the forefront with Regional Development Victoria to actually be able to look at the best ways to fund those priorities into the future. So they were the key standouts out of those many meetings with various stakeholders and agencies that the CEO does over that time frame. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Crosley. The next item is 12.2 is the March 2021 Council Performance Report. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council receive and note the March 2021 Council Performance Report as attached.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Seconded by Councillor Rossetti. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I'll declare it carried. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you. These reports are a really good indication of how we're going with our plans and implementing them, and the plans and the tasks that we've set the councils to do over this time. Just building on what Councillor Wood was saying, there's been a lot of community consultation over this period, and we've had a good feedback from Have Your Say for the council plan, the Port of Sale Master Plan, we've got the MAFRA Master Plan out, we've also got the 4-year Municipal Public Health and wellbeing plan, and the early learning plan. So, like at the beginning of any new council term, all of these plans need to be reviewed, and we deeply appreciate the community's time that they've taken to contribute to this, because these will inform the future, basically 4 to 5 years of our planning. The other things was of note was that, which the rural sector is very keen on, is the roadside weeds and pest program, and I know we've partnered with the Mafra Landcare on delivering those programs, and certainly around the roadside of the McAllister Irrigation District and up into Dargo areas for blackberry and other noxious weed control. This is important to make sure that our roadways don't become a conduit for weeds into the farming districts. And certainly this year, when we've had a big influx of good weather and rain after a drought, it's always the weeds that grow first. So it's really important that we control those along the roadside. We've also had, it's been pleasing to see that now that we're freer under the new lifting of COVID restrictions, that our sporting facilities are open for business again in all age groups and returning to full use. It was also good to see that the Aqua Energy membership return is 85% of what it was pre-COVID levels, and so we'll hopefully see those things improve. The Gippsland Sporting Complex has hosted successful Sale Amateur Basketball Association tournaments. So it's really good to see that those things, community has responded and are opening up and using those facilities, and feel confident that it's in a COVID-safe way. There was another interesting area with the, where I turn my page, also, yes, that we put in submissions in that sporting field for the Victorian Government Local Sports Infrastructure Fund for female-friendly facilities of netball, tennis courts, redevelopments at Mafra Recreation Reserve and Borragalong Recreation Reserve. So they were also submitted to the government. So hopefully we get a good response there, because we know that the community really appreciate the facilities that we have to actually have a healthy and active lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crosley. Next item on the agenda is item 13.1, Assembly of Councillors. Thank you. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Mayor. I move the Council note to receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 29th of March 2021 to the 11th of April 2021.
Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No? I'll declare it carried. Thank you, Councillor Boyle.
All good, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item, 13.2, is a resolution to advertise the draft 2021-2022 budget, proposed rates, fees and charges. Thank you, Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council advertise its draft 2021-22 budget as attached, including fees and charges and multi-year capital projects in accordance with Section 96 the Local Government Act 2020, and 2, Council considers submissions to the draft 2021-22 budget at a special Council meeting on Thursday, 27 May 2021 at 3 p.m. And 3, Council meet on Tuesday, 15 June 2021 at 6 p.m. to consider the formal adoption of the 21-22 budget. And 4, Council make the following declarations regarding rates and charges for the period commencing on 1st July 2021 and concluding on 30th of June 2022. And I'm happy to take the rest as read. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Crosley. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that set of recommendations? No, if not, I'll declare them carried. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the support around the Council table for that resolution. Council's 21-22 draft budget reflects a focus on consolidation. It actually shows a surplus for the 21-22 year. However, when you back out the substantial state government grants which are allocated to infrastructure, our true operating result comes close to break even. We continue to be in a rate-capped environment. This year we propose actually increasing to the rate cap of 1.5%, which is the lowest rate cap we've seen during this rate capping process. And we recall, of course, that we actually were 0% at our last budget, which ultimately is difficult to sustain if you want to sustain the current services. But with materials and service costs continuing to rise, there's been a real focus on maintaining and reducing costs to ensure that we are actually able to remain financially sustainable into the future, because a lot of the costs that council has are increasing at higher than the CPI rate and certainly higher than the rate cap rate. So a lot of work's gone into seeing how we can do things more efficiently and better, which I think is a good thing that we should all be doing anyway, and typically we are having a look at it, but certainly this is a focus right now, which is great. We also continue to look for opportunities that lead the sector in improving our cost structure, while at the same time providing efficient operational and community services. But tonight we're resolved to advertise this budget. The process from here is the draft budget will be made available on our website tonight, and the community can review it and make written submissions up to the 19th of May, and I certainly encourage the public to do that. Instructions for making those submissions are on the website. We'll have a special council meeting on the 27th of May where the community can come in and attend, tell us verbally what they how to support what they've put into their submissions, and then we'll consider those submissions, and an updated 21-22 budget will be presented on the 15th of June council meeting. I encourage all in the community to have a read and actually get some submissions in there. I'm sure everyone will have different views about priorities. Some people might indeed like more money spent on footpaths, some might like more money spent on roads, some people might like more money spent on the arts, or indeed on many of those several hundred services that council provide. We're required to put this budget out for public submission, but we actually want to put the budget out for public submission because we want to hear what people think. If you don't like the priorities, tell us. If you think there's things that we're missing, tell us. There are going to be many views, and we certainly welcome them all. So please have a look on our website, have a look at the budget, and let us know what you think.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. Next item on the agenda is item 13.3, is the Biennial Audit and Risk Committee update. Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move that Council receive the Biannual Report on the Audit and Risk Committee's activities, findings and recommendations for the period October 2020 to March 2021 as attached.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? I thank you, Councillor Bye. Is there any opposition to that recommendation, which I think I called the biennial, but it's actually the biannual? I'll get me, yes, byes worked out. No opposition to that motion or recommendation. I'll declare it carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. For the information to the wider community, the Chairperson's closing remarks of the recent March 2021 review stated that the Committee's overall assessment during this period is that Council is continuing to manage very well in not only a constrained operational, COVID-19 impacted and financial environment, but one that is rapidly changing due to a myriad of newly imposed legislative and governance requirements. It was also pleasing to see how well Council managed through the 2020 COVID impacts, and in particular the decision Council made to support its staff during this time. It is the independent view of the Committee that the governance culture of the Council is on the right track with the ongoing development of new policies and a robust risk and compliance framework, which will continue to strengthen Council's operations. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Mackenzie. Next item is item 13.4, is the adoption of Council's revised acceptance and declaration of gifts, benefits and hospitality policy. Thank you. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you. I move that Council approve and adopt Council's revised acceptance and declaration of gifts, benefits and hospitality policy as attached.
And seconded by Councillor Marr. Sorry, Councillor Marbeachy by a short half hands, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I'll declare it carried. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you. It's basically very clearly stated out there. The Council already has an active gift policy, but that includes and is appropriate for both councillors and staff. But under the new 2020 Local Government Act, there's been some there are some revisions we need to make sure that reflect that legislation. It's just to make it clearer, so there's no blurred edges, so there's clear transparency. We already keep a register, but under the new Act, that register is now, and declaration is now available for inspection on request by the public. So it's to create clear and transparent activities of both staff and councillors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The next item on the agenda is item 14.1, Strategic Land Use Planning First Quarterly Report. Thank you, Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council receive the first quarterly update on the Strategic Land Use Planning Work Program, included in attachment planning projects and amendments to this report.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. Oh, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bye. Is there any objection to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a while since I've actually given a more detailed summary on the planning projects and amendments, so I thought that I would take the opportunity to cover off those of high priority with the current strategic planning projects. So the first one, as we see here, is the North Sale Developer Contributions Plan. This plan was formally adopted by Council at its meeting of the 17th of April in 2018, and it facilitates a coordinated and integrated growth of 294 hectares. There's been a lot of work undertaken with this project, which is now nearing completion. So it is anticipated that feedback on the contributions arrangements will be sought from landowners in the first half of 2021, and then it should be brought to Council for formalisation of that decision. Secondly, the West Sale and Warwick Industrial Land Strategy Technical Report preparation is also another project that was formally adopted by Council at its meeting of the 19th of June 2018. A suite of draft technical reports were completed and reviewed by Council officers, and the recommendations that were received identified a number of matters that required further detailed consideration, and officers are currently working with the relevant authorities to address these issues prior to finalising the report. The next is the Port of Sale East Bank Redevelopment Study, which aims to investigate the strategic land use opportunities and associated planning provisions that are required to guide the redevelopment of land located on the eastern side of the Port of Sale, which is located just behind us here. Ratio Planning Consultants prepared a draft planning scheme provision, and this is currently being reviewed for future council consideration. And then we have the MAFRA Structure Plan, which is a key strategic land use planning project, which is focusing on the growth needs of MAFRA over the next 20 years. Several virtual online workshops have been successfully conducted with key internal and external statutory stakeholders. A discussion paper outlining the key strategic land use issues and opportunities was recently subject to a 6-week period of public exhibition, which actually closed yesterday. And that feedback will be used to inform the preparation of the draft MAFRA structure plan. Then we have the Port of Sale Precinct Master Plan, review and revision, and the residential land supply stocktake. Both of these projects have been identified as a high priority for the 2021 financial year, and have been underpinned by a charrette exercise. Now, a charrette, for those who aren't aware, it's an intensive workshop in which a broad range of multidisciplinary stakeholders are brought together to collaborate on and resolve a design issue or other land use matters. The charrette for the residential stocktake has been planned and will be held in April and May of 2021, and we certainly look forward to the feedback and the information that comes out of that to move that matter forward. And charrettes have already been held for the Port of Sale Master Plan, which has been subject to public exhibition, which also closed yesterday. Feedback will be used from this in the final draft. And that is all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Marr. The next item on the agenda is item 14.2, is the February 2021 Planning Decisions Report. Thank you again, Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council note the report on recent planning permit trends and planning application determinations between the 1st of February and the 28th of February 2021.
Have a seconder? Oh, thank you, Councillor Boyd. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, this motion provides details of planning decisions for February. The first attachment outlines the planning decision report, and the second outlines the trend report. There's a special note with regard to the trend report, as it details that there is a spike in the February graph, which is caused by the approval of the Nunduck Spa Retreat Development proposal at Seacombe West, which is located on the southern shores of Lake Wellington. This proposal is a multifaceted development which aims to address sustainable development, providing positive environmental, social and economic outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item is 14.4, is the proposed sale lot A, 21 Williams Drive, Fulham. Did I skip one? Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you. I'm not paying attention.
That's all right.
Sorry, item 14.3 is the proposed sale of 65 Temple Street, Heyfield. Councillor Crosley.
Yeah, an easy mistake. I move that 1. Council resolve that property described as 65 Temple Street, Heyfield, as shown on the plan within the more specifically referred as Lot 1 TP 341519, Volume 6919, Folio 718, is not required for council purposes. 2. Council advertises its intention to sell the land at or above the current market value by private sale, subject to the provision of Section 189 and 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, including calling for submissions in relation to the proposed sale. 3. Subject to the consideration any submissions, Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to offer for sale the land at or above current market value, including executing necessary documents. And if I can take the rest as read.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Marr. Is there any opposition to that proposal? If not, I'll declare the motion carried. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a property that used to be the Central Gippsland Health Services Maternity and Child Health Centre at Heyfield a very long time ago. It's opposite near the bottom pub, if you know Heyfield, and it has been rented, but now is vacant. It has been vacant for a while. It's really surplus to our requirements, and it's actually in a commercial zone, and so it really has got no other use. There was a tentative exploration of community use that hasn't been followed up further, so we're proposing to sell the land and the property as is to redeem the value out of that unrequired asset. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item, I'll try again, 14.4, is the proposed sale of Lot A, 21 Williams Drive, Fulham. Thank you. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Mayor. I move 1, that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to offer for sale council land described as Lot A, 21 Williams Drive, Fulham, at West Sale Airport. 2, Council advertises its intention to sell Lot A, 21 Williams Drive, Fulham, at or above market value, subject to the provisions of sections 189 and 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, including calling for submissions in related to the proposed sale. 3, subject to not receiving any submissions, Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to progress the sale, including executing necessary documents. And 4, the information contained in the confidential document at item 14.4.2, proposed sale of Lot A, 21 Williams Drive, Fulham, and designated confidential under section 3(1), confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020 by the General Manager of Development on the 6th of April 2021, because it relates to the following grounds. G, private commercial information, being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that. 2, if released would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. B, designated confidential information under section 3(1), confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020, except that once this recommendation has been adopted, the proposed sale can be made public.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bye. The next item is...
We need a second.
Oh.
Councillor.
I'm not going very well, am I?
I'll have a second. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti.
If you ask me to
Yes, sir. Beg pardon?
suppose.
Is there any opposition to the proposed recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. And now you can say a few words, Councillor.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
That's
Much
quite all right.
appreciated. West Sale, exciting opportunity here, but just for a bit of refresh, what we've done in the last few years at West Sale, we extended the runway by 1.8 metres, so 1.8, nearly 2 kilometres, and we installed new LED airfield lighting. The main reason for that was to make the West Sale airfield more attractive to people coming to do some investments. Also to help with the RAF with extra flying, and they could utilise the airfield as well. But this is an exciting thing that's happening now. We've sold 1.903 hectares of vacant land. So we have land that is available for anyone that would like to come and set up a business at West Sale. And this is an exciting opportunity for a business to come and purchase some land. It's confidential who the purchaser is. We can say, though, it is for an aviation-related development. So we all have anticipation to see what business lands there and hopefully some great employment for the Wellington Shire.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bye. The next item on the agenda is item 14.5, is the proposed lease of Velore Road, Kilmany. Councillor Marr.
I move that 1, Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to offer for lease vacant council land at Velore Road, Kilmany, for terms up to 30 years. 2, Council advertises its intention to lease land at or below market value, subject to the provisions of section 190 and 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, including calling for submissions in relation to the proposed lease. 3, subject to not receiving any submissions, Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to progress leases, including executing necessary documents. And 4, the information contained in the confidential documents and items 14.5.2 Velore Road, Kilmany, HOA 14.5.3 site details, Velore Road, Kilmany, and 14.5.4 leasing process and designated confidential under section 3(1), confidential information of the Local Government Act 2020 by the General Manager Development on 12th of April 2021 because it relates to the following grounds. G, private commercial information being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that. 2, if released would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. be designated confidential information under Section 3(1), Confidential Information of the Local Government Act 2020, except that once this recommendation has been adopted, the name of the successful tenants can be made public.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Marr. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bai, thank you. Is there any opposition to the adoption of this recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr. Did you want to speak first and then I'll...
Okay. This land is located adjacent to the Kilmany Resource Recovery Centre and landfill facility, and there is sufficient land to allow for a lease period of up to 30 years. It sits within a public use zone, which requires that the lessee be compatible with zoning and must apply and satisfy planning application and permit processes. The Victorian Government has committed to creating a renewable energy zone in Gippsland, and Wellington welcomes renewable energy investments as part of this. The ongoing growth in renewable energy investments provide opportunity, and this being a large-scale solar project, the likes which we haven't seen before, highlights the changing nature of energy and renewables, and that these are strongly supported by our local communities.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Marr. And yes, to announce the name of the... Now, this is actually the proposed lessee at this stage still, I believe, Mr CEO. The proposed lessee is Mr Neeraj Das, who, as Councillor Marr said, recycling solar panels. So thank you very much. That concludes the development report. Moving on to item 15. Item 15.1 is the Coongullah Township Eastern Area Special Charge Street Construction Scheme Declaration of Scheme. And yes, thank you, Councillor Tatterson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The next item is relating to the Coongullah Township Eastern Area Declaration of a Special Charge Scheme for the purpose of constructing streets, improvement to drainage and property entrances. So I'd like to move, as written in the agenda, items 1, 2, 3 and 4 relating to the special charge scheme.
Thank you, Councillor Tatterson. Do I have it? Thank you, seconded by Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of these recommendations? If not, I'll declare them carried. Councillor Tatterson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a significant day for the Coongullah Township. It gives the opportunity for some street construction out there. Certainly some of the benefits of Council's urban street construction program is dust reduction, improved amenity, improved traffic flow and improved surface ride for all our community. This in Coongullah hopefully we'll see other opportunities for the rest of the town to come on board, similar to what the Port Albert community has done, and hopefully in the future it's a town-wide approach for Coongullah. But certainly for that area that's involved in this charge to have their streets constructed to reduce the dust will be of significant benefits to those people out there. We look forward to hopefully seeing other areas of the township coming on board in the future.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Tatterson. The next item is the further gallery and online comments. Now, we have no one in the gallery, so I think I can safely forego the statement for anyone in the gallery. Online, Mr CEO, do we have any online comments?
We do, Mayor, and I'll read it out. It's a question from Mr Dean Sutton, and I'll read it out. Will Council fly the rainbow pride flag from its service centres on the 17th of May, being International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia? I believe it is important for Wellington Shire to visibly do more, taking action by flying the rainbow flag on IDAHOBIT Day shows the whole Wellington community where Wellington Shire stands on diversity and inclusion. There's one or two other sentences, Mayor, but basically along the same lines. Happy to discuss further needed. Thank you for your consideration. So that was the question.
Yes, thank you, Mr CEO. I will defer to Councillor Wood to make a comment and response. Thank you, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. When I stood for council, one of the things that I promised the residents of Wellington Shire that I'd work towards an inclusive and discrimination-free Shire. Raising the rainbow flag reflects this. It shows that 1.6% of Wellington Shire, who are the LGBTIQA+ people, that the council supports health and well-being of them and all their communities through accessible and inclusive programs. So I'm very proud to say that the rainbow flag will be raised on the 17th of May at the roundabout at Raglan and York Street. I've already received some messages from the local community and they are absolutely delighted. So this is a really great day and I thank you all very much for your support.
Yes, thank you very much for those comments, Councillor Wood. Now, there is no need at this stage for the meeting to be closed for any confidential matters. Therefore, I would like to declare the meeting closed at 6:45 p.m. Thank you all for your attendance. Beg your pardon? What's that?